Hey everyone, Jay Whitney here with Kickstarter Coaching and our internet TV show Crowdfunding Coverage. We do a review of each month's crowdfunding activity, and today we'll be talking about January of 2016. So in January there were 5 big campaigns of $700,000 or more. The 5 campaigns brought in a total of about $8 million in January. And the biggest campaign was the Revels, which was a wireless earphone campaign that brought in $2.5 million. And we'll talk about those campaigns a bit later, but first, the news of the month. Indiegogo is doing something a little bit different. They are interested now in working with the big Fortune 500 companies to do sort of demand testing, marketing testing for new products. So they're reaching out to the big companies, whereas historically Indiegogo and Kickstarter were for small companies, startup kind of things. So we'll see how that works out with Indiegogo. We have some preliminary reports now on the year 2015, last year, in crowdfunding. And there's a big mass solution report that comes out every year. And the estimate is, for last year, $34.4 billion of crowdfunding. And the thinking is that crowdfunding will surpass venture capital here in 2016 by the end of the year. Kickstarter, for some time, has had an iPhone app. They recently added an Android app. So those poor people that struggle along with Android every day, this the least we could do is give them an app to do their Kickstarter to help them out. So the app has come out, but the reviews seem to be that the app is quite basic with not as much functionality as they have in their iPhone app. But perhaps the big news certainly in management circles and crowdfunding was a move at Indiegogo that Slava Rubin, the founder of Indiegogo, who's been the CEO for almost 10 years now, I think, since the founding of the company. He's moving into a new role and is going to be replaced as the leader of Indiegogo, and he seems happy about it. Hopefully everything will go well at Indiegogo with the new management structure, and we'll keep an eye on that as 2016 unfolds. There's an organization with a website called Crowdfunding who does different analytics and resources for the community. And they've put together a sort of a big listing of backers and what they call super backers for Kickstarter and Indiegogo projects. So sort of a big list of who is like a Kickstarter junkie that maybe you want to try to reach out to them in your campaigns moving forward. I haven't tried to use that list yet. It's brand new, but quite an interesting resource to see how that will fare into the community and whether or not the backers will like it. If they are snowed under with requests because they're on the list, that could cause problems. So we'll have to see how that works over time. We are starting to reach the point where people are going through their regulatory steps now toward equity crowdfunding for later in this year. And first step is people started filing for it to be a crowdfunding portal. And so one company has now filed to do that, so they get the exquisite joy of working with all the regulatory bodies to see what the rules really are when you actually try to file and get approved. So my hat's off to them and the suffering that they will endure as they go through the process, making it easier for all the other companies to follow. So we're going to talk now about the 5 big campaigns of the month. They range in size from about $840,000 to $2.5 million. The length of the videos, which if you've watched the show before, I think that's a real important aspect of things, range from about 1.5 minutes to 4.5 minutes. The typical wisdom, I would say, from my opinion and what I hear from people, is 2 to 3 minutes seems to be optimal. The length of the campaigns, at least the Kickstarter campaigns, it's harder to tell with Indiegogo the length of them, seem to be 45 to 60 days long. The number of rewards offered range from 5, which seems a little skimpy almost, to 21, which seems a bit tough. I think somewhere around 10 is really good if you can offer a wide variety of price points in that kind of a number of rewards. And the updates, everybody did a reasonable amount of updates, from 9 to 31 updates during the period. So the first campaign was the YoCam. This is a very small, they're saying it is the smallest waterproof camera for taking images or video, so you don't have to try to put your iPhone in a Ziploc bag underneath the pool water or something. So an interesting resource with lots of different accessories that they offered in their campaigns for mounting it in different ways. They raised a lot of money. They had 4 stretch goals that they reached. They had supplemental videos. Don't feel like you're trapped in putting everything in one video. If you really try to do that, your video may end up being too long anyway. You can put in more than one video if you like, and it's a good idea if you have a complicated product. Also, they had a distributor tier with 30 units. It used to be that Kickstarter enforced a maximum of 10. I haven't seen any formal announcement from them, but campaigns are going through now with higher and higher unit counts. So either they have officially taken that rule away, or they have quit enforcing it. Next campaign, Crwdfndng. This is a super duper router with a big emphasis on security. A lot of your computer vulnerabilities is really part of the router as much as it's part of the computer. Their campaign, they had supplemental videos. Again, it's a complex issue, electronics, and all the different angles on this thing. They had 11 stretch goals that allowed them to start with a low required amount for their Kickstarter, but over time to expand and offer. Oh, pardon me. This is an Indiegogo. Excuse me. That it allowed them to have a fairly minimal goal, but then add different aspects to their product over time. And they had a 3-year warranty. This is a great thing if you're not a household name, which certainly most of the campaigns that run in crowdfunding are not household names, to give some assurance to the buyer that there's going to be a nice warranty with your product. Next we have Phazon. These are wireless earbuds, which is a new thing. It's gotten popular in the last 6 months perhaps. So they raised a lot of money, about $1.5 million for their wireless earbuds. And some of the unique aspects of their campaign is, again, they had supplemental videos. It's a complicated product. It's electronics. It's running through Bluetooth, and how they work, and so forth. So they use the extra video to carry the water on that. They had a big area in their campaign about the prototype phase. This is something that a lot of people addressed briefly, but they went into a little bit more in depth about the prototypes that they went through to develop their eventual product. Also, in the main body of the descriptive text about their campaign, they had a select perk button. I'm of mixed opinions about this because most people have been on crowdfunding sites at least once or twice before and know the process, but maybe it's a good idea to have a button in the main body for people that aren't familiar with that the selection of perks or rewards are happening in other sections. Maybe that's a good idea. Next we have Pine64, which was a quite interesting campaign, really. It's a tiny computer. It's like you're buying sort of the board with a couple of little attachments instead of buying a big box. Starting at $15 for this Pine64 product. Pretty amazing. They offered early bird pricing, which rewards people that commit to the campaign early by giving them a lower price. They had a nice project timeline about their project, when they were going to do what. But one interesting thing they had that really spoke to their expertise and really struck me when I first watched their video is one of the people involved used to work at Apple Computer and was the 12th employee at Apple. And he spoke for 30 seconds or something about early days at Apple. It was a little bit historic and interesting to hear, but really you knew that like one of the people that was in the ground floor of Apple would be able to pull this thing off, and I think that gives a lot of credibility to the campaign. So if you have some way to really show your expertise in a unique way for your campaign, it's probably a good idea if you can. And our last campaign and the second pair of wireless earphones. This is the Rivals. Rivals, I'm not sure how they're pronouncing that. So wireless earphones, again, earbuds. And some of the unique things that they did is they had multiple early bird pricing. So different price levels depending on when you come in and different packages that they offered. They had an engraving option to put your name or your initials on the case that the earbuds come in. They also did something interesting that they not only were in partnership sort of with Onkyo, which is a long-time audio company, but they were very upfront about that. They highlighted that in their campaign, which really gives assurance to the buyer that they're going to sound good if Onkyo is part of it. They have a multi-decade reputation in sound. So that sort of took one big part of the question out of the equation. So that now you're looking at other concerns, these new people and how they work and everything, but it gave comfort to the buyer about the sound quality of the product. So if you are going to work with someone, a big company with a reputation or an individual, this is clearly an advantage if you can pull that off. That's it for January of 2016. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back in a month or so talking about what happens in February of 2016, and we will see you then. Take care.